It is not the purpose of your intuition to guide you into action that is going to make sense to your ego. I'm going to repeat that. It is not the purpose of your intuition to guide you into action that is going to make sense to your ego. What am I talking about today? Stick around, you're going to find out. Today we're going to talk about intuition, all right? If you are new here, I am Tamara Tamu. This is the Unleashed Alchemy YouTube channel. We're on this channel. We talk about metaphysics, magic, your spiritual science, your spiritual technology, and we also talk about deconstructing from religious programming so that you can live in complete and total spiritual freedom, which in turn will manifest into freedom into every single part of your physical life. All right, so let's get into today's episode. Now, before I start, let me tell you this. I had no intention of making any type of video today on any level. I had no intention of coming online to do anything. All right. I had no intention of making a post. I had no intention of making emails. I had no intention of doing any of that. When I woke up this morning, which this is something that I always do, but let me back up before I get to that. I know that I am guided. I have an unseen spiritual team that guides me into everything that I do. It is something that exists within me. It is encoded in my DNA. All right. So let me just tell you this. If that sounds weird to you, you just go find another channel. All right. I'm not going to even explain that. But if you keep watching, then that means that you understand that you have a spiritual squad as well. Okay. That you can access at any time for any reason, anywhere. Okay. But let's get back to the topic at hand. So I know that, and I consult before I do anything with my team, with my spiritual squad, with my sovereign. What do we do today? What am I doing? What do I need to say? Who do I need to help? How can I help myself? How do I handle this situation or that situation? What do I need to do in business? What is the most productive thing I can do today? All right. All those questions somewhere along the lines. All right. Different iterations of that question. And so today, which happens a lot, what I have been guided to do, what I was guided to do, did not fall in line with what I thought made sense to my ego. Because when I open up my calendar, when I look at all the things, when I look at the projects that I have that I'm working on now, I thought that I was going to be guided into going down the list and seeing what I can check off or cross through or add to whatever. But what I was guided to do today was to live in each moment, was to intentionally pay attention to each moment, pay attention to my breath, to be grounded. I'll give you an example of one of the things that I was guided to do earlier today. Now, where I am at today, it is cloudy. It's a typical, we would say, autumn day, fall day. Leaves on the ground. It is cloudy. It is 54 degrees. And that's probably as high as it's going to get in this climate. I was guided to go outside and put my feet into the ground with a glass of water and soak up nature. Now, in that example, that does not make sense to go outside barefoot, 54-degree weather, no shoes, no socks, to plant my feet in the ground. The grass was wet, is wet, it was damp. Does that make sense for the ego? No, absolutely not. Now, it's not terribly cold, but your ego would tell you, well, no, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Your feet are going to be cold. The ground is wet. The grass is wet. You need something on your feet. That doesn't make sense. You have all these other things that you could be doing, but you're going outside to get grounded. That doesn't make sense. More oftentimes than not, your intuition is going to guide you into action that way, because our ego tells us that when we take action, that it has to be these big grandiose actions all the time, that somehow you going outside, again, I'm going to stick with this example, that somehow you going outside to plant your feet into the ground, to connect with nature. We are also nature, to connect with who you are, that somehow that is not productive. Only your ego tells you that. So let's get back to intuition. And I'm going to repeat the statement a third time, the statement that I said at the top of the video. It is not the purpose and the goal of your intuition to guide you into action that's going to be comfortable to your ego. Your intuition doesn't care about your ego. Why? Intuition is elevated and it knows all. Your intuition, or excuse me, your ego is only programmed and designed to see what it can see in the physical eye. With the physical eye, your ego is bound to time. Your ego is bound to all these physical limitations. Your intuition isn't. So your intuition is going to guide you into action that is looking beyond, that is elevated beyond what you can see. For your ego, that is unsafe. For your ego, that is not practical. That is not logical. So why am I bringing this up? Many of you who are watching, you right now, you're watching this. In the last 24 hours, you probably have been asking, well, what do I do now? What action steps do I need to take now? Do I need to move somewhere? Do I need to move my family? Do I need to do things differently? Do I need to do things differently in my career, my business, whatever? All these questions that you have, the base of it is, what do I do now? What can I do? Your intuition has been guiding you. But because you are allowing your ego to tell you that that action step isn't good enough or it doesn't make sense, you're dismissing all of that guidance. And now you're feeling frustrated. You're feeling annoyed. You're telling yourself, well, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do, which is not true. You have been guided on what to do, but because that action step or those action steps don't fall in line with your ego, you've told yourself that you're not being guided. That is not true. Here's another example. You may have had the guidance to sit down and write. But because your ego is saying, well, you don't have time to sit down and write. You have all these things to do. You have this, and this. But you not realizing that you writing, in the midst of your writing, whatever it is, in the midst of your writing is more instruction. In the midst of your writing is a wealth generating idea. In the midst of your writing is the next best-selling book. In the midst of your writing is the next best-selling songs. I'm using this as an example. I'm using these examples to illustrate how your intuition works, how your guidance works, how the guidance that is encoded in your DNA works, how the magic in your DNA works. It is not to appease the ego. That is not its purpose. It doesn't care about your ego. Now, yes, of course, because we're in this physical body, there are going to be those action steps where we are going to be guided to call this person, call that person, send this email, write this post, go live, make this video, call or apply for this grant, call the bank, whatever it is. Now, those are considered, or what our ego would consider to be productive action steps. When calling a person or sending an email or creating a course or creating an event, that is productive. But you also sitting down to write, to journal, is just as productive. Perhaps you have asked, okay, what do I do next? And you're really feeling this call to be in your body, to sit and be still and be quiet, to make sure that your body is soothed. You are probably getting the guidance to just sit and watch a movie, eat popcorn and watch a freaking movie. But because, again, your ego is attached to what looks productive or what looks to be a good enough action step, you're not doing that, and you find yourself in frustration. Oftentimes, let me say this. When we're being guided to be still, to be in the moment, that is so our nervous system can calibrate to our elevation. That is so our nervous system can catch up to what our soul is going through, to what our soul is being calibrated to calibrate to the spiritual mastery that we are being initiated into, that you are being initiated into. It is so our nervous system can calibrate to what our soul and our intuition knows. It's so our intuition can be elevated and elevated and elevated and elevated to infinity and beyond. So sometimes when you're, let's say, for example, that you have asked that question and you may be saying, well, I don't feel like I'm being guided to do anything. Well, let me give you a tip. Then you ask yourself, okay, body, what do you need right now? And your next thought is to go take a bath. Go take a bath. If you ask that question and your next thought is, be nice to lay down, go lay down. So we have to stop judging. We have to put our ego in its place, allow us, our sovereign, to sit on the throne so that we can be guided. You have no idea how productive it can be to sit in silence and to take in every single moment, to have an intentional breath in every single moment, to pay attention to your food, to pay attention to yourself as you're grooming yourself, as you're putting on your earrings, as you're putting on your makeup, as you're getting dressed. You have no idea how productive it is to pay attention to yourself, to pay attention to your body. There is so much productivity in being. Your being is revealed to you when you are paying attention to yourself. So if you're watching this and you keep feeling this call to just sit and be, it's so that you can pay attention to your sovereign being, so that you can connect even more and more into who you are as a magical being, into who you are as a vessel of healing and abundance of everything good and perfect. So I want to leave you with this. Stop discounting your intuition. That is a gift. It is a spiritual gift. In intuition, there's so many different forms. There's so many different ways that the messages can come to you. There's so many different ways that your guidance can come to you. All right? Put the ego in its place. Pay attention to how you feel in your body. All right? So that's the message for this video. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. Okay? Leave them in the comments and I will get to them. Also, if you want to ask me in a more private setting, you can send me an email, unleashedalchemy@gmail.com. All right. Until next time, cheers.